Hello, welcome back, and thank you for continuing to watch our videos. In this first section, I am building an at-home pump-out box so that we can pump out our holding tank right here at home. The assembly is simple. It's just a hose with a suction connection valve that you see right there, with a whale pump in the middle, hand-operated whale pump, and then it's connected to the box, and I've got a extra rod that you can connect it to that goes into the box that you see there on the left, and that is used in order to pump out the box after pumping it out of the boat. For those of you with a lot of sailing experience or rigging experience, please watch through to the end and the next video, because I set up the mast and raise all the sails to inspect them, and I have a number of rigging questions that I would like to ask you guys. Mainly, am I doing it correctly, and are there better ways to do it? Thank you very much. I thought that pumping it out would empty the holding tank more than it is, so this is the result. Hopefully we won't have to deal with this system very much as long as we maintain it properly. In order to test the toilet and plumbing and holding tank system, I dump several buckets worth of water into the toilet and pump it into the holding tank, and then go and pump out the water that I had just put in. Since the windows leak terribly, and there's a number of pieces of hardware going through the deck that also leak or are missing, I decided to buy a tarp to cover up these areas in order to minimize water into the bilge. I don't remember if I've shown a couple of times in the past where I have to pump out or vacuum out all of the water in the bilge almost daily. Always have to fly the colors proud. This project here is installing the new depth sounder into the boat. This section here is the display module that goes into the cockpit. The transducer, the through-hull transducer, will be installed later. Here also I play with a few new camera angles. Let me know what you think. Here I begin installing the new LED rope lighting system that I would like for the interior. I think that it'll add a very nice atmosphere since the lights can be changed to whatever color you want. Unfortunately, the soldering required for the light section is very fragile and makes it very difficult to get them installed and still working. So for the time being, I have put this project on the back burner. I will continue to try and get these installed, but for now I am installing basic lights. Here I begin to replace the depth sounder after receiving the proper through-hull transducer. The old transducer is a through-hull transducer that is mounted inside of a PDC housing but doesn't actually go through the hull. I personally prefer one that actually goes through the hull, and this one has no water in it, so is not correct anyway. Here the GoPro drops into the small amount of water at the bottom of the engine compartment, and I was very concerned that it would not work, but thankful to see that it still did. Always wear safety glasses anytime you are working upside down or drilling or cutting anything that may produce shavings. I used a 2-inch hole drill bit in order to drill the hole for the transducer, but apparently it's just a hair too small, and I ended up having to sand the hole in order to make it large enough to fit. Never use any tools to mount the transducer. Any scratches or dings on the front of it will cause it to malfunction, so good old hand power it is. I never enjoy crawling into these aft lockers. The beeping indicates a shallow water condition, and the indicator shows 00, which is exactly what it should show while it's on dry land. So the next section is me putting up the mast so that I can play with the sails, which will be in the next video. There's a number of points here that I would like your feedback on, because I want to make sure that I am doing it properly and that I'm doing it in the best way. Here I have taken off all of the bungee cords that I use for transportation and am pushing the mast backwards so that it can seat in the foot. During this pushing process and the raising process, the cables are constantly snagging on everything, and I would love a way that I can push the mast backwards without having all the cables snagging. Here I take the backstay line and attach it to the end of the boom, which will be attached to the front of the mast to provide counterlever to lift. This rope I then attach to a winch and then run forwards through a block and to the end of the same boom, which will then provide the pulling force. The boom is then raised and locked into the front side of the mast and secured on either side with ratchet straps to prevent it from falling over in its vertical position. You may actually remember in one of my first videos when I first bought the boat, we were lowering the mast, and when the mast reached its lowered position, this boom then fell over onto the dock railing of the person I was buying it from. Luckily that dock was there. If it had not been there, this mast or this boom probably would have bent or snapped off and fallen into the water. I then attach a small line to the forestay, or the furling jib in this case, to pull it forward while the mast is coming up. Then it's just a matter of a lot of winching in order to pull the mast upright. Even with a rather high ratio winch, there's a tremendous amount of pressure on the entire system, and I'm a little concerned that something may fail during this lifting process. If that happens, then the mast will most likely fall back down onto me. Now, thanks to the beauty of editing, this hour-long process is cut down into about 10 minutes, but there's a lot of work that goes into it that is cut out. In the video of purchasing the boat, I had a terrible time with the cotter pins on these forestays, so I have now replaced them with quick release pins. The boom is then turned around and mounted in the proper aft position using the backstay to hold the weight of the end of the boom. I would like to have a separate aluminum tube that I can use for this raising and lowering process so that I don't have to continue to keep moving the boom back and forth. Here I run the halyards for the traveler assembly, but I'm going to play with the routing on these because I don't like how the blocks sit when it's in its pulled in position. Rope maintenance is always a key factor on any sailboat to prevent many issues. Here I attach the line to the furling headsail, but later discover there are other issues which I will present in the next video. This here is my method of maintaining the working halyards of the boat, although I have since moved them to the aft railing of the boat. Please let me know what you think. This is the end of this video. In the next video I will continue setting up all of the sails that I have, and there's a number of questions and comments that I would like about that as well. So please stay tuned, and thank you very much for watching.